Welcome everybody. Thank you for enrolling my course. So in this video, I will be showing you what will be the final product that we are going to build in this course. So let's get started with this video. So you can see I have already run my application in a landscape mode inside my virtual emulator. So let's start playing this game. So when I click on this particular part of the screen, so you can see it's actually start playing. So you can see I am now actually moving the racket. So the yellow one is actually my racket and the blue one is actually an AI that play automatically with the use of AI code. So you can see here I have already won 3 games. So you can see here I again won inside this particular application. So when I click on this back button, you can see this is the main screen of the application. I know that the UI is not very attractive, but you will learn a lot of new concepts like how to plan your application, using some game loops and painting the things inside the screen by using the Java code. So we are not going to use any third-party library. We are going to build this entire application from the scratch with the use of the existing part of the code. So you can see inside my build.gradle I have not added anything. So if I go to the Android package and if I just expand my Gradle scripts, inside the module you can see I have added nothing. These are all default dependencies that actually comes with the Android Studio when you actually create a blank activity project. Means an empty activity project, not a blank activity. So that's all about this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.
In this video, we are going to create a new project inside our Android Studio. Currently, I am using Android Studio version 3.5. So click on this first option in order to create a new project inside Android Studio. So I will be selecting an empty activity for this project. Now simply hit next. Now here you can specify the name of your application. So I'm going to specify the name of my application as Pong2D game. And then I need to browse the directory, so I'm going to leave it as in my info with Vijay channel directory. And this is my package name. And I will be using a Java language for the development of this project. Now simply hit finish, just leaving all of these things as it is. And I'm selecting the minimum API level 25. Now Android Studio will create the project for you. So I will be continuing the video again once the project creation process is completed. Now you can see our project is created successfully. And also I am here using my physical device for the testing purpose of the application. You can also use the emulator if you want, but it's better to use the physical device because we are actually developing a game application and we need to physically interact with the objects that we are using inside the development of this application. Because I am using an on-touch method along with gestures to work with properly on these things, we need to use the physical device so that we can get accurate results while testing the application. Now minimize all of these things. First thing I want to just refactor all of this activity to like a game activity because I forgot it when I created the project, but there is no such a problem. We can refactor it easily. Now you can see our activity gets refactored. Also I want to change the name of the layout. Now here I will be specifying a activity game. Then hit a refactor again. Now in this application I am not going to use any external dependencies to enhance the quality of the application, but if we want then I can use it as per the requirements of the students. Now our next step is to actually go to the values directory, and here we need to create a new file. So I'm going to create a values resource file and I will be name this file as attrs, in which I will be specifying some dimensions of the racket, and also I will be creating some custom code. So here I will be using a tag which is a declare stylable tag, and then I will be specifying some content. Then I will be here specifying a name which is a custom name. You can name it as it is or you can name it whatever you want, it's totally up to you. So I'm creating here a custom button theme. We will be using this code inside the Android activities. Now here I will be specifying a attr tag. First we need to open the tag, then the attr tag, and then we need to specify the name of the attribute that we are actually want to do. So here I will be specifying a button, and then I will be specifying a button bar style, and after that you need to specify here a format. So I will be using a format is reference, and then I will be closing this tag. After that I need to do the same thing again, so I'm going to pressing the Ctrl D at the end of this line of code. It will duplicate the code, means create a new copy of this same code, and here I need to specify a button. So this code will allow us to actually target all the smaller screen as well. Like if you are having a very small screen like 4.5 device screen or maybe a 5.0 screen device, then your application will run properly with the calling of this code. That is the reason I am specifying here a code. This is a new concept, maybe very less developers are using it. Now here again I will be specifying a Pong table. Right now we are just using here a Pong table. Now in our upcoming videos, I'm also going to create a Pong table class in which we are going to use this particular code. Now here I will be closing the declare stylable tag, and inside of this I need to again specify some attrs. So the first attr that will be specifying for the racket height. So I will be specifying here a racket height, and then after that I need to specify our format and then specify here a integer. Then I need to close the tag. So I can use a self-closing tag instead of closing the full close tag. Then I will create a duplicate 2 times, and here I will be specifying a racket width, and then here I will be specifying a ball radius, because in our table we also have a ball along with rackets. So rackets can interact with the ball, or you can say that the ball can interact with the rackets. Now all the code is done inside our attrs.xml file. Also in this video I am going to specify some colors inside our colors.xml file. So the first color that I will be specifying here a color of the table. So I will be specifying here a table color. So you can use drawable's resources, but it's better to use the color so for the testing purpose, because it will make our application to run faster. So here I will be using a table color. Then I need to specify the ending of this particular tag, and here I need to specify the code. The quickest way to specify the color code is by specifying 3 times 0 along with the hashtag. Then here click on this square icon, and then from there you can select the appropriate color that you want. So I will be using a dark gray color. Now I am going to create a duplicate of this particular line of code, and then here I will be specifying a player color, and then again I will be creating another duplicate, and here I will be specifying a opponent color. And then I need to change the color, so I will be using a light color for our player, so I am using a yellow, and for opponent color I am also using this particular color, which is little bit of light, because our background is dark. That is the reason we need to use this color light, because this is actually our racket color. Also I want to create another color for our ball, so here I will be specifying a ball color. Then ball color I will be using a pure white color. So this is the ball color that I will be using. Now we also need to create a new activity. So just right click on this app level directory, go to new, and then from there select the activity and create another empty activity. And here you need to specify the name of your activity. So I'm going to specify here a Pong activity, and then simply click on finish. So it will create another activity for us. Now you can see the activity is created. Now at the latest Android Studio version, which is Android Studio 3.5, is very fast. That is the reason it creates the activity more quickly. Now I will do the designing in our upcoming videos. Right now our main motive is to actually focus on the logic part of the code. Now we also need to make changes inside our manifest file so that our application can run on the landscape mode, so that we don't need to explicitly rotate our device every time when our application launches. So that's it for this video. In the next video, I'm going to specify the code inside our style.xml file. Along with that, I will be making some changes inside the manifest file. So thank you for watching. See you in the next video. In this video, we're going to make some changes inside our style.xml file. So open your style.xml file, and here just click on this project tab. Now first we need to change the dark action bar to no action bar. And after that, here we need to specify another item. So I am specifying here an item, and then we need to specify the name of the item. So first I am going to type here Android, then a colon, and then I will specify here a window. Then we need to close this tag, and here I need to specify the value. So I'm going to specify the true. It allows our application to run in the full screen mode without displaying the action bar and also the status bar. So if I just show the layout decoration, right now you can just only see the action bar, but we have specified the style.xml as a theme. Now we need to call this theme inside our all the activities. So go to the Android manifest file, and here you can see the custom theme is applied to all the application, but we also need to explicitly define this app theme inside all our activities. So let's do it one by one. So instead of this, first we need to change the theme. So we'll be specifying here a theme, and I'm going to use the app theme. Similarly, I need to specify this code inside our game activity, because the game activity is our launcher activity, and I specified the code here also. And after that, we need to make some changes inside our Pong activity. First, we need to make some changes inside our configuration. First, I want to make keyboard hidden, because we don't need to enter any values. So that because it's a game application in which we need to interact with the rackets and ball. So that is a game in that there is no need to enter the data through the keyboard. That is why I'm actually hiding the keyboard. And also I need to specify here orientation, which will make the orientation to the default, which I will be specifying in the next line code. And also I will here specify a screen size. And after that, the line of the code that I want to specify in which this orientation and screen size based in, and that is actually a screen orientation. So I'm going to explicitly define the sensor landscape, which allow our application to run only in the landscape mode, not in the portrait mode. And whenever we launch the application, we will see a landscape activity. So also we need to copy this same code inside our game activity. So I'm going to paste this code here. Now it's time to run the application to see whether our code is working or not. So if I run the application into my physical device, now here you can see our application is now running and it shows a hello world text. That is because our activity game has only a one single element. So if I go to the project tab and open my activity game, which is our launcher activity, and you can see it has a text view that shows a hello world. If I click on this preview, then you can see the preview and I have make this to the landscape. Right now here you are seeing the action bar, but when we run our application, you see there is no action bar and even there is no status bar. This is the software that I am using. Right now you see these navigation keys. That is because the software I am using, which shows the title bar along with this blue line, which shows the controls that I can interact with the device. So that's it for this video. From next video onwards, we are going to start the logical part where we are going to create some classes like player, our Pong table class, our ball class, and even our game thread, because we are going to use a game thread class in which our all the necessary code for the game related stuff will go there. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. In this video, we are going to implement the logical part of our application. Now if you not watched the previous video, then I highly recommend you to watch the previous videos, then come back to this video so that you can get a complete idea of this Pong 2D game application. Now coming back to the package, just right click on this package and go to new, and from there select a new Java class, and inside of the Java class type the name of your class. So I'm going to type the name of my class as player and simply hit the enter key. Now I'm going to click on this project tab so that you can get a more wider area to see. Now here first I will be specifying members. So the member that I want means our player is actually a racket. So a racket should have a width and height, and also we need to give a score so that our player should have a score. And to paint on the surface means we are going to use a surface view class, which is actually a part of the Android graphics. So we can actually paint on our screen on a basis of the 60 frames per second. So to paint on the screen we need to use a paint class object. So that is the reason we need to use a paint object as well. So we are going to define all of this method inside of this player class. So first I will be specifying here a private, and then we need to create an integer because the height and width is actually in a form of integer. Then I will be specifying the name of my first data member, or you can say it as a member variable, because we are inside the object-oriented programming language. So I just specify my first member as racket width, which will hold the width value of my player, which will ultimately define the racket. Then I will be specifying another variable of a private integer type, and here I will be specifying again a racket, and this is actually going to be a height. And then I need to specify another variable, but at this point of time it is actually a integer public variable, which is actually a score, because we are going to update this score from different classes as well. Then we need to create another variable which is of type private, which is of type class paint, which is a part of the Android graphics package, and we need to create an object of this paint class so that we can paint on the screen, so that we can paint according to the height and width of our racket on the surface view, which is our Pong table class. And we are going to call this racket width and height inside our Pong table class in our upcoming videos. Also here I need to create another variable which will help us to detect the collision detection. So here I will be using a rectf, which is also part of the Android graphics package. And then we need to create the object of this, and I will be specifying here a bounce. So this bounce will help us to detect the collision between our racket and a player, and also the boundaries of our arena, means the game environment. So what I want to say, so right now you can see this is my physical device. Suppose here we have our racket, which is our player 1, and here our opponent racket, and this is the boundary of our application. Now this bounce, which is a part of the rectf class, will help us to detect the collision between our ball and racket, and also when our ball gets hit by this upper wall and also with the bottom wall of like left and right, then it will help us to detect the collision. So we are going to write the collision detection code in our upcoming videos, because right now if I will specify all these things in a one video, it will become a very long video and it will become very difficult to understand. Now coming to the coding part again inside our player class, first right click there and go to generate, and here you need to specify a constructor. Just select these integer variables which is of type private, not select the public one. Now this rectf is also of type public. I actually forgot to specify here a public. I'm going to correct it just after I specify the code for the constructors. So select the paint also and then simply hit OK. Now first I need to make a changes. So first here I will specify here and then I need to initialize this score variable and also this bounce variable inside the constructor, but not as a parameterized constructor. So here I will be specifying a score value to default value which is of type 0, and then I will be specifying the bounce object to a memory. So with the help of new operator I can specify the bound to the rectf class because it is actually a type of rect because we are not inside the Kotlin. Because if we are inside the Kotlin, we can simply delete this stuff. It's automatically understood by the compiler that we are actually allocating the object. But we are actually in a Java, so we need to use a new operator here. And after that we need to terminate that. But we also need to specify here some parameters. So first I will be specifying a 0. Then again, the second parameter I also specify a 0. Then the third parameter I will be specifying a racket width. Or you can specify the racket height, but I will be specifying the racket width. Then I will be specifying the fourth parameter, which is of type racket height. After initializing all of these values, we need to create a getters method for these two variables because I already told you we are going to use these two data members inside our Pong table class. So just right click there and go to generate and then select this getter and then select these two variables, which is width and height, and hit OK. Now I already told you we are going to draw the things with the help of this paint class object on a 60 frame per second basis. So to draw the things we need to use a draw method. So here I will be specifying a draw method which is of type public, which will draw our racket on the Pong table class, means our game environment. So this is a draw method, and inside of this we need to specify the code. So this draw method will accept a one parameter, a canvas type class object. So I specify the canvas. Now with the help of this canvas object I am going to call a method which is of draw round rectangle, and then here we need to specify the bounds, and then I also need to specify here a 5 values. Now why I am just using here 5, because I have actually developed this application with by hand, so that is the reason I know the exact values, so I can't experiment with these values because I did already so much experiment with these values. So that is the reason I know all these values properly because I developed already this application. Now the next thing and the last thing inside of this class we need to do is actually we need to create a helper function which will help us to debug some things. So that we need to create a method. So I will be here, just simply click on the generate and select here a toString method and then select only a single parameter. So I will be here selecting a score and hit OK. But right now we are not going to return in this form. We are going to make it a little bit more simple because we need to return all the object values. So here I will be specifying a width, then a equal to, and then we need to specify the value. So I'm going to click on here plus, then the racket width I will be specifying. Like this is a second one, and then again we need to specify the plus, then the again we need to specify here inverted commas, double inverted commas, and then the height, and then equal to sign, and then again here we need to specify the plus, then racket height. Again just specify the plus, then we need to specify the string values, which is taken as a string, then score is equal to, and then you know very well that's what I am actually doing. So I'm going to quickly type this code. Now you can see I have typed the whole code, which is actually a width which will return the racket width. So this is just a function which will help us to debug some things. If anything goes wrong, we can use this method to actually convert the values in a string, and we can display those values inside our logcat if we need it. So that is the reason I create it, so that we don't need to create it while we are face some issues. So that's it for this video guys. In the next video we are going to create the ball class, and then we need to create some Pong table class, then we need to create a game thread class. So there is a lot of things we need to create. Then we will run our application, and then if we face some issues, we are going to solve those issues one by one. So thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Welcome back to this video. So in this video we are going to create the ball class inside our Pong 2D game. So let's get started with this video. So simply click on this project tab, and from there expand your package, and here we need to create a new class. Just click on new and select the Java class, and here inside of that just place your class name. So I will be specifying a ball and hit OK. Also I need another class, so I'm going to create a new class again, and here I will be specifying the class name as Pong table. Then simply press OK. Now inside of this Pong table class I'm going to specify two constants. So I'm going to close all the other classes. Now I have closed all the classes, just I need to work on these two classes, which is ball.java and pongtable.java. Now inside of that I need to specify some constants. Means I need to specify the two constants, which is actually denotes the speed of our racket and also the speed of our ball. So these are the constants are of type public static, so that we can access it inside our ball class. So public static, and then we need to specify here a float, because this is actually going to hold a floating point values, because we are inside the game development, and every possible value will make the difference. Because if there is a very small change, then we will actually get a very massive difference. Then I will be specifying the name of my variable is physics racket speed. So I just make the physics to float as speed. Then here we need to initialize the value, so I'm going to initialize the 15.0 f. Then it's time to duplicate it. So here actually it's going to 15 point, and here I need to specify the 0 f. Then I need to duplicate it, and instead of racket speed I will need to change the name of my variable to like ball. Now it's time to specify the code inside our ball.java. So here inside of that, first I need to create some variables. So I'm going to create some public variables. So it is of type public because we are going to access it outside the other classes as well. That is reason. So the first, our ball needs a coordinates, which is actually a x coordinate, and also we need a y coordinate so that we can draw the ball inside our screen, which is our Pong table. Because right now we are going to use this ball and our player inside the Pong table in our upcoming videos. Also we need to use the velocity because if we want to move the ball, we need to change the velocity in the x direction, also in the y direction. So I name my variable as velocity. Then I need to specify the x, which denotes the velocity for x. Then again I'm going to duplicate that again, and here I will be specifying the y, which denotes the velocity of y. To draw a ball we need a radius, so I'm going to create a new variable which is of type radius. Now in order to paint the ball inside our Pong table, we need a paint class object. So again I'm here specifying the private, then paint, and then I need to specify the paint. Next time to specify the constructor, so right click on your class and then go to generate, and here select the constructor and select all the parameters except this radius and paint, and then select OK. Now I'm going to remove this parameter list, and here I will be specifying a parameter list which is a int radius, because when we call our ball inside the Pong table class, we need to specify only a radius and also the paint object, which you will get to know about it when in our upcoming videos came out. So now the ball is actually done. Now it's time to specify a draw method just like we did in our player class. So it will be going to a public, then void, and after that we need to specify the name of our method. So it is going to a draw method. And then here we need to specify the parameter which is of type canvas, because it is going to draw the things on the canvas. So we need to use the object of canvas, then canvas, and now we need to use this canvas object dot, and we need to draw a circle just like we did in our player class where we draw a rounder rectangle. So we need to draw a circle. So it requires 4 parameters. The first is the coordinate from x, then coordinate from y. So I already created a member variable for that, and then here you can see it's actually a cy. So it's actually here I specify a dot instead of comma. Now the error is gone, and here we need to specify the radius, and then we need to specify the paint object which will paint our ball inside the Pong table class, which is actually a Pong table canvas. Now here we need to define another method which will actually use to move the ball, and it is called by the game thread every time whenever we need to move the ball. So it is also type public. Then specify here a void because this method is not going to return anything. Then move ball, and then again we need to start the body of the method. Instead of that, in order to move the ball, so we need a canvas object, because in canvas we need to move our ball. So it is also using a canvas. Then here we need to use the coordinate x. First we need to increase the velocity. I already told you in order to move the ball we need to increase the velocity. So here I will be specifying the velocity value, and also similarly we need to do that for the value for our cy. So I'm going to duplicate it so that it will make little bit more quicker. Then here I need to change the value names. Now the values are initialized. Then we need to make a comparison. So here I will be using a comparison. If cy, which is a coordinate y, if it is smaller than radius, then we need to use the condition. We need to initialize the cy value to our radius. And after that, if it is true, then we need to specify the else condition also if it is not true. So if it is else if condition, so here we need to specify the cy plus the value of our radius. Then we need to increase the value if it is greater than equal to our canvas height. So we need to make use of a small object because this is the canvas. So canvas object we need. So here we need to use the canvas dot get height. If it is that the case, then we need to execute that block of code which is actually equal to cy is equal to canvas dot get height, and then we need to minus the radius value along with the -1. So that particular code will help us to move our ball inside the Pong table game. Now we also need to create a get radius method which is a getter method. So I'm going to right click it again and go to generate, and here I'm going to select the getter, and from there I will be selecting only the radius and click OK, because this method is used in a game thread class. Now here we need to create another toString method which is a helper function which is used to debug the code. So I'm going to click on this project tab, open my player class, and from there I'm going to copy this toString method and returning back to the ball class, and here I will be pasting the code again. And then I will be changing the parameters list, so that because here we are going to return the cx value which is a coordinate x value, so cx value which will denote the coordinate x, and then we need to plus this value which is cx, and then again we need to increase and then specify the value which is cy, and plus then we need to specify here a cy, then plus again the values. So here I will be using val x, which is the velocity x variable, is going to equal to, then here we going to plus the value which is our velocity x, and then again I need to do the same for our velocity y equals to, and then again, and then we need to plus the value, then velocity y. So that's all for the coding for our ball.java class, which will help us to create the ball inside our Pong table, and also this particular method will allow us to move the ball inside our game. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Welcome back to this video. In this video, we are going to start the coding inside our Pong table class. In previous video, we have specified the code inside our ball.java class, where we write the code for our drawing the ball and also for the code to move our ball. So let's get started with this video. Now open your Pong table class, and here at the top of them, we need to create some variables. And I'm going to explain all the variables. So this part is actually going to be just for the creation of the variables. So just I'm going to type here private, and also I will specify here a player, and then mPlayer, which is the object of our player class. Then again I need to specify here a private variable, which is also type player, and here I will be specifying the mOpponent variable, which is almost same because we need to draw a racket for our opponent as well. Then we need to create an object for our ball. We already created the ball class, so here we need to specify the ball, then m, and then we specify here a ball. Then we need to create an object for our paint, which will allow us to paint the net on the screen. So I am using a paint and net paint. I will create the object net paint. And after that, I need to create another variable, which is actually for the paint of also type paint, and this is going to our table paint object, means table bounds paint, which will allow us to paint the bound. So what I mean, if I open the activity file, like activity.pong activity, so it's actually asking for the reflector. So what I mean, if I just make it into landscape, so this is actually, right now you can see this white border, this is actually our bound, but right now this is actually the Android Studio bounds of the activity. So we also need to draw this bound inside the code so that we can, when our ball gets hit by this particular wall, which is our bottom wall and also the top wall, then we want to reflect it back to the ball again to the, in the direction of the racket. So here again I'm specifying some variables, which is of type private, and it is type of integer, and this is actually going to be like mTable width. So this is mTable width, then again I'm specifying the private integer variable, and then mTable is going to like mTable, and this is going to be our height. And then we need to create some variable for our surface holder. So here I will be using a surface holder, and then I will create a holder as an object, which will helps us to hold the surface that in which we are going to define our all the classes. Now these all the variables we already created, so we just want to make it at the bottom so that format the code. Then here we need to create a variable for our AI, which is actually used to control our opponent racket. So it's of type private and also of type float, and here I'm going to name this as AI, which is a move probability. Then I'm going to just simply terminate that variable. Then we are going to create a variable for the boolean variable, which is actually a moving variable, which will test whether the ball is moving or not. Then the last variable which we need to create is actually a float variable, and it's actually last touch. Now finally, we have declared all the variables which are necessary for our Pong table. Now this Pong table class is actually going to extend a surface view. So it's actually a surface view. So now it's actually complaining that there is something we need to override. So we need to actually override the constructor. So we need these two constructors. Then simply hit OK. Also we need to create one method which is of type integer, and this method is going to type of public because this method is used inside our game loop when we create our game thread class. So it is type init. And then here we need to specify the init Pong table. The name of our method I'm going to specify like, then this method is going to accept a parameter of type context. So here also I need to specify the void because this method is not going to return anything. And then here we need to specify the context, and then we need to specify here as ctx, the context variable, and also we need to use here an attribute set, and I will use something like attrs. So instead of that, we need to write the code, means whatever variables we have defined at the top, means whatever data member we have defined here, we need to initialize all these values inside this init Pong table. So it is actually an init, not int. It's actually an init Pong table. Also this surface view means this Pong table class is going to implement the interface of surface view holder. So I'm going to type here surface view holder dot callback, and then we need to override some methods. So by pressing Alt Enter, then again press the Enter, then you need to override all of these three methods. So we are going to code all of these three methods in our upcoming videos. So these are the main things of our application, because whenever surface change, we need to make some changes here. So all of these methods are actually maintained by the game thread class, which we are going to create in our upcoming videos. Now that's it for this video, guys. In the next video, we are going to specify the code inside this init Pong table method. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. In this video, we are going to initialize all the member variables that we have created in our previous video inside of this init Pong table method. So let's get started with this video. So first I am going to initialize the mContext. So I just forgot to actually creating the mcontext variable. I think I forgot it to create the mcontext, but don't worry, we're going to create it here, private, and then the context variable, and then it is actually a mcontext. Now it's time to initialize it inside it here. So first I'm going to specify the mcontext is going to the value of ctx, which is a context variable. Then I'm going to initialize the object which is our holder, so that we can hold our surface. So I think this is the m holder. I name my holder object like holder, so I'm going to here specify m holder, because that's going to be a member holder variable, so that we can differentiate easily whenever we share a source code to someone else. Then get holder, and then simply hit a terminator. Then again m holder dot, and then we need to specify here add callback, and here we need to specify the this. Now remember, we get this get holder easily because of we actually implemented the surface holder callback. Now after initializing all of these things, it's time to here writing a one comment. Now here you can see I have specified a line of code which will allow us to actually initialize the game thread. So here we need to create the object at the top, and then we need to initialize the game thread object in this particular line after the initialization and adding the callback to our m holder object. Now it's time to specify more code, so I'm going to here use a typed array, and then I'm going to create the object which is of array, and then here need to specify the ctx dot, and then obtain style attributes. Specify the attributes, and then we need to specify the r dot styleable, which is a styleable in which we have created some dimensions for our racket and pong table, so that we can target the smaller device skin as well. And pong table. Now here I am going to create another variable which will actually initialize the racket dimension. So first I am going to initialize the racket. So first I am going to initialize the racket height, which is a get integer value, and then I need to provide the path, which is as else styleable, and then pong table. So it's actually a pong table, and this is the racket height. Then you need to specify the default value, which is going to be 340, and then duplicate it into 2 more times, because we also need to initialize the width. So I will be specifying the width, and this is actually going to be like a ball radius. And after that, here we need to change the corresponding values like pong table, and this is going to be racket width. So here I use a white, it's actually not a properly pronunciated, so I have actually make here a typo. Then I need to copy this, and again go to our pong table, and then paste it here. So actually I need to copy the whole, it's actually pong table dot, so I need to remove that again, dot, and then again I need to specify pong table racket width, and then I need to specify here a default value which is going to be like 100. Then similarly we need to here initialize the pong table ball radius, and then here need to specify the radius default value which is 25. Now it's time to set our player so that we can paint the player inside the pong table class. So this is initialize method in which we need to initialize our player as well as our opponent as well as our ball. Or along with that we need to draw the walls and also the bounds. So we are going to use the paint class object. So here we need to use the paint class, and then clear here, and then we need to name the object as player paint, which will allow us to paint the player on the surface view. So I'm going to initialize the object, and after that with the use of a player paint object I'm going to call a method which is a set anti-alias method, and here I need to set the value true. Then I need to create another method which is a player paint.set color. Then we need to specify the path color, but first we need to call here a get context, means context compact, and after that we need to call a method get color, which is because we are inside the latest Android Studio versions. If I actually open my build.gradle file, you will see here that we are actually working in the minimum SDK 25 and our build tool version is 29.0.2. So that is the reason if you are in the older version, this code will not work. Like in a Pillow API 22, this code will not work. So that is to make sure your minimum API is at least 23 or maybe higher. Then here I need to specify the path of the color, so I am using here a r dot. Along with that, now here you can see it's actually providing the error, that is because we need to call it with the help of a context. So I need to specify here mcontext. Now the error is actually gone. Now we have all set the player paint. Now it's time to pass this player paint to the object of the player constructor, which is actually this constructor along with the height and width. So just calling the mPlayer, because we have already created this object at the top. If you remember, this is the object. Now the first object we are going to initialize, then allocating the memory to this object, that is new, and then player, because we are here calling a constructor. And then we need to pass the first racket width. So here I have also made a typo, it's actually width. I need to make here th. and then copy that, and here we need to paste it again. Then we need to specify the racket height, and then we need to specify here a player paint, which will allow us to paint the player on this surface view. Now similarly, we need to create the paint object for our opponent as well. So here I will be writing a one comment, set player, and then I'm writing here another comment which is like set our opponent. Now I'm going to copy this code and I'm going to paste it here. Because the code will remain same, just only we need to change the object name. So here I will be specifying a opponent paint, and then copy that and paste it here, and I'll also paste it here, and then also paste it here. Now similarly, we need to create a ball. So here I will be specifying a ball comment. So we are actually setting the content so that we can draw it on the canvas. Now again I'm going to paste it here. So it's actually opponent paint is copied. So I'm going to copy that and paste it here. And then I'm going to change the object name to ball paint. Then copy that, and here we need to paste it. It's actually copied again. Paste that, and here also, and then also here. But notice here we have made a mistake that we are actually calling a new player, but we already have a separate ball class. So we need to call this ball constructor here. So I need to change it into ball. And then when I did that, it's actually giving us an error because it requires a radius. It says a two parameter, the first is the radius and the second is the paint. So we need to provide here a radius first. So I'm going to remove these two parameters. So here I will need to specify a ball radius. So this ball radius I have created, but here also I need to change the object to mball. Now if you click on that, then this is a variable. We have actually initialized the dimension to the ball radius. That we're actually using it here. After that, we need to here draw a middle lines. So I'm going to type here a comment. So here I will be using a mnetpaint dot set, and the first we need to allocate the memory. And paint is going to equal to the new, and this is going to be a paint. After initializing value to mnpaint, here I am going to again use the mnpaint. Then we need to set the anti-alias method and set the value to true. Again, so we are going to use bunch of methods with this particular thing. Then mnetpaint again, and then we need to set the color. Set color, and I'm going to set the color as like white, because our background is actually a dark gray. Because now I'm going to specify here a white color because our background is dark gray. Then again I'm going to change a method name. Here I'm just duplicate the code, and then here I'm going to use the set alpha, and I'm going to set the alpha value to 80. Then again duplicate that and remove this method because we not need method because we need another setter method. Then set stroke width. Now then we need to call here a set stroke width method. Stroke width, and here we need to specify the paint dot style dot, and here we need to use the fill and stroke as a constant value. Now you can see it's actually giving us an error. So it's actually giving the error that is because we have passed our wrong parameters. So stroke width is actually going to specify a floating point value. Then after that we need to specify the style. So I need to specify the style at the top. I don't want to destroy my code. So that is the reason I'm just going to type the same code that I already developed the application by hand. Then we need to specify here a style. Set style, and then it's actually a paint dot style dot, and then we need to specify the fill and stroke. That's the correct parameter. And now finally the last method that with the mnpaint actually takes up, it's actually a set path effect. So we actually need a dash path effect. Now what this particular lines of code will does, it's actually create a line at the middle of the screen which will denote like a net, because it's a Pong 2D game, and you remember that a Pong table game has a net between the table which will partition the two different sides of the player. So that is the reason I'm going to try it here with this particular code. Now here we need to specify a new float array, and then I need to specify the values. So I'm going to specify here 5, 5. Now how I know all of these values? Because I already developed this application by hand. Then I need to specify here a 0, and then finally terminate that code. And to remove this typo, and then here we are going to set the bounds. So again I'm here to use a draw, and then we need to specify the bounds. To set the bound, we need to use a mtable bound object. So here we need to specify the mtable bound paint, and then we need to set the first. So first we need to again allocate the memory, because I forgot to allocate the memory, because in Kotlin we don't need to allocate the memory, because with the name of the class name we can simply allocate the memory. And again now it's time to set the anti-alias method. So again just mtable dot. After doing that, we need to just set this color and all of this stuff. So again I'm going to paste it here, and then I'm changing the object name, paste it, and then here also going to paste it. Then I'm going to set the color. So I'm going to set the color to the bounce at black so that it will become hidden when we run the application. And then it's actually here I'm going to close the bracket, a round bracket. Then we need to set the style, and also we need a stroke width. So I'm going to copy these two code. We don't need a set alpha color. Set it here and then copy that again, paste it here and paste it here. Now to increase the width, I'm going to specify the value to 15, and instead of fill and stroke, I will be using only fill. Or you can also use a stroke, so I will be trying a stroke just to make a little bit different than my previous one. Then we need to initialize the MAI variable, which is our MI probability variable. So I'm going to initialize the value, a floating point value of 0.8f, and now I'm going to terminate this value. So finally guys, all the initialization of the code is done. So we are going to override a method, that is the onDraw method. So onDraw, I'm going to type it here onDraw and hit a tab key. Now inside of this onDraw method, we are going to call all the draw method of this. This draw method will be called here, and also the ball draw method, which is this one, be called here in order to draw the things on the screen. And I have already initialized all these values, so there is no way to get the null pointer exception error. If you face this error, then maybe you have initialized something incorrectly. So that's it for this video guys. In the next video we're going to specify more code inside our PongTable.class, because I already told you first we need to set the things, then we can run this application to our physical device to test the things. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Now in previous video we initialized all of our data members inside this init PongTable method. Now in this video we are going to specify the code inside our draw method, and along with that on this constructor we are going to call our init PongTable method. So let's get started with this video. So first I am inside this PongTable method, means which is a constructor. So here I need to call the init PongTable. So this is a init PongTable. I need to pass the context, and then I need to pass the address as a parameter. Similarly copy this again, the whole statement, and then here and again paste it. Now it's time to specify the code inside this draw method. So let's get started. So first here we need to use the object of canvas dot, and then we need to call the draw color method. So draw color, and then after that we need to specify the context compact, because we are inside the latest Android version, which is Android minimum. Because here I am using the context compact, that is because my build with Gradle file, if I open it, you will see here I have the maximum SDK version is 29, and then the min SDK version is 25. Now if your min SDK version is 22 or maybe smaller than 23, then this particular line of code will give you an error. So make sure you specify the minimum SDK version is 25, at least nougat, then it will work well. Now again I'm closing the Gradle file, and inside this, so here we need to call the getColor method, getColor, and then we need to specify the mContext, which is a member variable of the PongTable class, and then again here we need to specify the path of the color. So color, and we are actually using a color of table, so table color we are actually here calling. Then again we need to specify the another object canvas, and then here we need to call the drawRect method. This is our drawRect method, and then here we need to specify the left, right, and then we need to specify the mTable width, that is the width, and then we need to specify the mTable height, and then comma, and after that we need to specify here mTable bounds paint. So this will actually draw our bounds of the rectangle, and then we need to call here init middle to draw the middle lines, because inside our draw method we will draw the things, because we are actually setting all the things inside the init table method. Now it's time to draw the things by using the draw method. That is the reason we actually override this method. Now to draw the middle lines, we need to half the width, means we need to divide the width by 2, which will give the half portion of the table, and then we need to call the canvas object draw line. So here we are calling the draw line method, and then we need to pass the middle, which is the starting point of the line to draw, and then we need to specify the y position, so which is going to be 1, and then we need to specify some float value. So here again I will be passing a middle, and again I need to specify comma and mTable height, and then specify the comma, which is actually mnet paint. Then here we need to also specify a -1. Okay, so that's actually draw the color, table color, rectangle, and the line. Now next thing, we need to draw our opponents and player and our ball. So let's get started. So first here I will be calling the object of mPlayer, which will allow us to call mPlayer draw method, and here we will specify the canvas as a parameter. Now this method we are calling here so that we can draw the player inside our Pong table. Similarly, we need to draw the opponent. It is also based on the player class, almost similar, but the things are actually a little bit different. The object name is different, and we are actually controlling the opponent by using the method called AI. And then here we need to specify the mball.draw method, and then we need to specify here a canvas. Now this is a draw method. We are actually using it here. Now one thing here, notice I have actually not initialized the radius and paint inside this constructor. So we need to make changes inside this code. Otherwise we will get some error when we run our application. So first we need to make changes inside our ball.java class. So here I made a mistake. So first, this is not the valid code because this will give an error. Instead I will be using here this dot, and we need to initialize our paint. So paint is going to be equal to paint, and then we again using this, and it's m time to radius, and this is actually equal to radius. Then we need to initialize the velocity. So this dot velocity x is actually equals to Pong table. So we actually created a constant which is actually a ball speed. We need to call it here, and again we need to specify this dot velocity y, which is equal to again Pong table dot physics ball speed, and then we need to again terminate that. Now this will be the valid code. It will not going to give us an error if we don't specify this code. This draw method actually calling inside the Pong table. So when we run our application, we will get in trouble because this radius and this paint is not initialized. Also this cx and cy value are null. That is the reason. Now again coming to the Pong table class, and it's time to specify the code inside all of this particular method. So first I am going to change the parameter list of this surface created method, because right now it's actually showing I and I2, which is not a meaningful. So first I will be here specifying the int format, and then this one is actually going to be our int width. So I will be specifying the width, and this one is actually our height. You guys get right, it's actually our height. Now again inside of that I will be initializing two values. The first is actually I will be initializing the height and table width. So mTable width, not a width, it's time for the mTable height. Now these two lines of code actually are specified inside the surface change method. Now the next thing we want to also do, in our upcoming video we also need to initialize the game thread object here, but we are right now just leaving it as it is because we are going to code inside of these methods in our upcoming videos. Inside of this video I am going to also create some more method. The first is actually I want to override the onTouch method. So this is our onTouch event method which will be used to move the racket, and then I am also going to create another private move boolean method. So it's type of private, and a boolean method is actually is touch on racket. So I will be creating this method is touch on racket, and if this will take an object of the motion event, and I will be specifying here event, and then it's also taking the object of a player class because our racket is actually a player and player, and then we just start the body of this method. Now this will actually expect an return statement, so I will be specifying the return statement. So it is going to return the mPlayer bounds, mPlayer.bounds, and then we will specify here a contains, and then we will specify here event.get x, and then specify the comma event.get y. Then we need to terminate that whole statement. After that we also need to specify some more methods. So I'm going to specify a move player method. So it's also going to like private, it's actually a public method because we are going to call this method inside our game thread class. That is the reason I'm going to specify this method as public. Then move player, and after that here we need to specify some parameters. So this is like player, then player, comma, then float, and then we need to specify here a left value, comma, float, and then we need to specify a top value. Then we need to start the body of this method. So this is our move player method, and also I need to create another method at the top of this particular method which is our public, and this is our method which is a move player. This method is also going to accept some parameters. So the first parameter is actually going to accept is of type float. So I will be here specifying the float which is actually a dy, and then I will be specifying here a player and player. And also I need to specify one more method which is actually our doAI method. means our AI which will use to control the opponent racket. So here I will specify the void, then do and AI, and after that I need to specify the body of this method. So we are going to code all of these three methods in our next video. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching and I will see you in the next video. In this video we are going to specify the code inside our move player method so that we can move our player, means our racket, when we are actually playing the game. So let's get started with this video. So first here we need to make some comparison. So I'm going to use a if statement which is used for the comparison. If left is smaller than 2, then we need to initialize the value which is left is equal to 2. And then we have to terminate that. After that, we need to make here a comparison with the else if statement. And here we have to specify the left plus, and then we have to specify here a player dot and get racket width. If it is greater than equal to our M table width minus 2. Then we have to specify the body. So here again I will be specifying a top is equal to, and then we have to specify here M table height minus player. So this is our player dot get racket width, and then this is our minus 2, and then terminate that. So what it does, it will actually compare the left. If it is smaller than 2, then it's actually initialize the value to left, and after that we're comparing. So here we need to use a left instead of top. After that, if left and plus player racket width is greater than table width minus 2, then we need to execute this particular statement, and then we need to make comparison for the top. So here I will be using a top smaller than 0, and then to start the body of this method, and here I need to specify first initialize the top to 0, then you need to specify else if statement, and again here we need to specify the top plus, and then we need to call here a player dot get racket height. So if it is greater than equal to, and here we need to specify a M table height, then start the body, and then we need to initialize here top is equal to M table height minus player dot get racket height minus 1. So this will actually check if whether, so if I again just take you to the game screen, means not our game screen, so almost same, because right now our game screen doesn't have anything. So what it will allow, it will actually compare the left of this and also the top. So if it is actually our racket actually collides with the top, then this particular comparison will be used, and if it is actually inside the left, means our ball gets collide here at the left, then this particular block of statement is used. So now we need to here specify the last statement of the code inside of this method, that is a player dot bounce dot offset 2, and here we need to specify the left comma top. Now we have specified the code inside our move player method. It's time to use this move player method inside this move player racket method. So let's get start here. So first I need to use a synchronized keyword, because our move player method also uses synchronized, and then we need to specify here a holder object which will hold the object. So M holder. Now we need to start the body, because now our holder will hold this surface with the synchronized keyword, so no other thread can use this until it finishes its execution. And then we need to use the move player, which is a method, and then we need to pass the player, because our move player method is actually expecting a parameter which is a player, then left and top. So here I specify the player object, then I need to specify a player bounce. So make sure I need to call the dot operator and bounce and then dot left, and then to specify a comma. After specifying the comma, again I need to call the player object, then dot, then bounce, and then top. Also we need to specify this dy, which is a parameter. So here we need to also add this value along with dy. Now our move player racket code is completed. Now it's time to specify the code inside our do AI method. So first we need to make here a comparison if M opponent. If it is the case, then we need to execute the block of statement which is our move player, because our opponent is also a player. So first we need to pass the object of type player class, which is our M opponent, and then we need to, I'm going to make an enter so that it will become more clear to understand the code. Then here we need to specify the M opponent, not a moving, it's actually an M opponent dot bounce dot, and again we need to specify here a left, then specify a comma, and then again I need to specify here a M opponent then dot bounce dot, and then to specify the top, and then we need to minus the value by with the help of physics bracket speed. So that marks the completion of the if block execution. Then we need to also specify the else if statement. So it is actually an else, and then we need to specify the if statement, opponent, and then dot bounce dot top, and then here we again need to call the move player, because our racket will also move in the top direction, just like here. If it is our racket here placed here, because our opponent will be placed on the right hand side, so our racket is actually moving in the top direction. Along with that, it's also going to move in the bottom direction. So that is the reason again I am here specifying the else statement, opponent, and then to specify again enter, opponent, not a moving, it's actually opponent dot bounce dot, and when to specify the left, comma, and then again here I will be specifying opponent dot bounce dot top, and again going to plus the value by using physics racket speed. So here we are actually plusing the value, means adding the value of the racket speed. So that marks the completion of the code our do AI method. So here I will be making it into capital. That marks the completion of the code for these three methods. We need to still specify some more code inside our Pong table class, so that we can easily able to interact with our rackets when we design our layout. So from next video onwards, I'm going to design the layout for our activity game, along with that for our activity Pong. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. In this video, we are going to design our activity game screen, along with that our activity Pong. So let's get started first with this activity game. So it is already designed, but I need to just specify here something more. So first I'm going to close the show layout decoration, so that we can get a clear screen. So this hello world text I'm going to change it into start game. So I'm going to just remove this text, and here I will be specifying the start game. And then I need to increase the text size. So here I will be specifying the text size, which is like hashtag 3 times F, because I'm going to use the dark background. Now here I will be specifying the background color, which is almost close to the table color. So I'm going to use here a table color, that is this one. Now I need to increase the text size. So here text size is actually I have specified the wrong thing. Here I need to specify 35 SP, and after that I need to specify the text color, which is hashtag 3 times F. Now it's actually visible. Then I need to do one more thing, which is text style is going to bold, and also I'm going to specify here on click, which is actually a start game method. So this will create a event handler inside our game activity. So I'm going to press the Alt Enter and create start game in game activity. Now it's actually created. So here I will be using a intent. So I'm going to specify here intent, then new, then it's like to start a new activity. I'm going to use the intent. This is our game activity dot this, and then I need to specify here another, which is our Pong table. Not yes. So I will see whether the Pong table is activity. So yeah, our Pong table is actually not an activity, our Pong activity, and to figure out which is my activity. So it is our Pong activity which I need to start here, not our Pong table. It's actually our Pong activity. So Pong activity dot class, then terminate that, and then I need to start the activity. That is this one activity. I need to pass the object, which is intent. So when I just click on this text view, it is going to start my Pong activity. I'm going to close the game activity. Now it's time to specify the code inside our Pong activity. So the first thing I need to specify the Pong activity is actually a tag. So first make some enter, and here I will be using a text views. So go to the design tab, because I'm using a constraint layout. So to work with the constraint layout, you need to use the design editor. Now this is our landscape mode, and first I'm going to specify a background color, but it's better if you not specify, but I'm going to specify it because right now this is necessary, because all the text widths I'm going to set the text color as white. So first I'm going to drag this text to here, and then again this text to here. Okay, and now I need to set the constraints. So first this one, and then from there this one, then from top, and from here also I'm going to select it, and also from the top. Now from top I'm going to make it into 24, maybe 32, and this one also is selecting, and from top is actually already 32. Then from bottom I need to specify the constraint, which is 360, and also for this one from bottom is 360. Now I need to specify the left constraint, and then I'm going to select this one and also select the left constraint. Now these are actually going, so I need to make it a 0, and select this one, also make it a 0. Now both of them are closely related to each other. Now their indentation is actually changed. 360, Selecting this one is actually 88, and from there I'm going to also make it into 88. Now both of them are perfectly at the center. Now I need to specify here 100. And similarly for this one, I'm going to specify here a 150. And just selecting this one and just increase it here 150. So this is how you actually work with the constraint level. So that's look great. Now they are actually perfectly constrained. Now go to the text mode of the XML. So I need to change the IDs. So this will be our TV score player, because on the left hand side our TV score player. So I need to copy this ID, because right now you can see there is a red line is appearing. So I need to specify here a TV score player. Then this one is actually our TV score opponent. Then I need to copy this ID again and replacing it here. Now perfect, both of them are perfectly aligned. Then again here need to change the text opponent, and also here need to change the text to player. Then it's time to modify the code. Text style is going to bold. Then text size is actually going to like 22 SP. So 22 SP is visible. It's very small. I need to make it into 25, I think. 25. Then I need to specify text color is going to like hashtag 3 times F, because our background is dark. Now just copy this code and then place it here also. This makes the player and opponent text looks better. Again I need to specify another text view. So this is here. I need to specify the text view. That is this one. Setting the constraint from both sides. And then I'm coming back to this layout, and here you can see this is our text view. So first I need to modify the code. So here I'm going to copy that and placing it here. This will be the state. So right now when our game is not playing, it's actually a ready state. So right now our game is actually in a ready state. Sign of exclamation. And you can see the font is not very big. So I'm going to make it into 35 SP. Now it's actually big and crisp and clear. Now at the top I need to specify here another text. I'm going to copy this text view. Copy that, not just cutting them. Copy that and remove the ID. And then I'm going to here specify a com dot, and here I'm going to use this Pong table text view. I'm going to create a custom tag, means a custom view of a Pong table. Selecting this, and I need to place it at the top. So first I'm going to remove the constraint. So go to the design tab, and here first remove the all constraints, because we need to make it them into center. So this is our surface view. Just line it at the center, and then I need to do what? Then I need to set the constraint. Constraint, then constraints, and then constraints. Just leave the bottom one, because our bottom constraints will not going to work in this way. Bottom constraint are like this, and I need to just simply making it here. First remove the bottom constraint, because it will create a problem, and I need to just move it here in the right. Just leave the right constraint, then select this one, then set the bottom constraint. Yeah, that's great. Then just make it into center, this ready, and then set the right constraint. So that's actually perfectly at the center. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to again go to the text tab, selecting the main layout, and then changing this background color, means just removing this background color. Now everything is white, because right now our Pong table constraint is actually wrap content. So I'm going to set it into match parent, and this one is also match parent. Then again coming back to the design tab, selecting this surface view like this Pong table, and then from here just set it to 0, also this 0, and then set it to 0, and this also 0. Now you can see our surface view is actually visible. Now here you can see our racket is visible. When I just coming back to the text mode and again go to the design tab, then our racket is visible, but right now our ball is not visible. So I just look at the code here. So in the initialization code here you can see we are setting the same color, that is yellow, yellow, yellow. So our opponent color is also yellow, our setup player color is also yellow, which is our visible player, that is this one, player racket, and also we are setting our ball color as yellow. So we need to here change the color, that is our ball color. So we need to call here a ball color, and then here we need to also specify the opponent color. So now the colors are different. Also you can see here at the top our opponent object is not used. The reason for that, because we actually copy paste the code, and here we are also initializing the player. So here it is our opponent object. So opponent object is used. This is the first error I have solved, and this is the colors error I have solved here. Now our bounce color is also giving so much problem here. So we need to use here a color concept differently. Like if I use the same color, which is our table color, So I'm going to copy this code from here, like this from here, context compact, copy that, and coming back to here, and I'm going to paste this code. Then instead of player color, I will be using here a table color, so that our bounds and table color will remain same. Now the another change that we need to make is actually inside our move player method. So here we are actually using a width, so we need to also initialize here a mTable width. Actually I forgot it and I make a mistake here. So after changing this, now it's time to run the application to see whether the things are actually working well, because our activity, as you can see here, is actually showing a blue racket and a ball. So maybe we can see it inside our running environment. So here you go, our application is now running. If I click on that, but right now you can see it's actually showing the black. The reason for that, inside of that you can see here we are actually using the text property, and this is actually a custom tag which doesn't hold this property. So we need to remove this all 4 properties. So just delete that, and first we need to specify here a ID, and then we need to give here a Pong table, and after that we need to specify here a background color so that we can just see a little bit more crisp layout. Now it's time to run it to see whether this will fix our problem or not. Again installing our application, so it will take a little bit of time. Now our application is launching, and now it's perfectly launched. So if I click on start game, now you can see our bracket is also visible, along with that our ball, but you can see right now it's actually very close related to our layout. So we can make a little bit padding of 2 to dp. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to specify the same code. Just copy this code from here. So before copying that, I'm going to the design tab and selecting this Pong table, and from every side I'm going to give a 2, setting the constraint of 2 dp. So when I run it, because right now you can see our ball and racket is actually touching the edge of the layout, means our device screen. So we don't want that. So our application is now launched. If I click on start game, now you can see there is a white background is actually appearing, means this will not looks great. So how can fix this problem? We can copy this background color property from here, like from here, and just specifying the same color to our root layout, because our surface view doesn't require, because our Pong table doesn't require this color. Again running the application, this will solve the problem, and our racket will just having a 2 dp from this left side, and also for our opponent as well. So again our application is now running, and if I click on the start game, so it's actually showing this ready. So here I also need to specify the background color, I think, because right now it's actually not giving. So table color, again I'm running this, because right now you can see still it shows a black screen. So we need to specify this background color property. Without this our table doesn't look great. So if I again click on that, and you can see now this look perfectly well. Our racket is actually placed, our player, and this is our opponent. You can just reduce the size of the font of these two, because right now it's actually very big. So I'm going to make it into like 20 sp, and similarly for our player, let's make it into 20 sp. Now you will run the application, it will look fine. So that's it for this video guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Now in previous video, we successfully designed our activity Pong screen and also our activity game screen. Now in this video, I'm going to specify the ball placement code inside our Pong table class, which will help us to place the ball inside the game environment, and it is used by the game thread class, which we are going to create inside our next video. So here at the bottom of this particular Pong 2D game class, means our Pong table class, so I'm going to specify the one method which is of type private, and this return type is going to void, and then here I will be specifying the place player, and it will actually place our both players, which is our opponent and our user player, in which we can interact. So here first I am going to specify the mPlayer, so not a move player, it's actually our mPlayer object.bounce, and then we need to set here offset to C, and then we need to specify here a 2, then specify the comma, and the next we need to specify here a bracket and start here a mTable and height minus with mPlayer, and then we need to with the get racket height, and also we need to divide this particular statement by 2, like this. That marks the completion of the code for this one, and then we need to specify the other code for the opponent as well, because our opponent is also a player. So again specify the bounce, then dot offset 2, and then here I also need to specify the mTable width, then specify then here we need to minus the table width with the opponent dot get bracket width minus 2. Then we need to start the bracket, and then we need to specify here a mTable. So I'm going to make it into a next line so that it become easy to visible. So you can see here height which is divided by 2. So it's actually not, we need to divide it outside the bracket. I made here a mistake. Now it's actually solved. Now you can see it's actually a new top. So placement player code is actually completed. Similarly, we need to specify the code for our ball also. So it's again a private void. And then here I need to specify the place in the body of this method. And then inside of that, I'm going to specify here a mball.cx is equal to an mtable. So it's going to mtable width divided by 2. Terminate that mball.cy, and here I'm going to specify the equal to sign mtable width. It's actually height divided by 2. And then here I'm going to specify the mball.velocity x. There is a velocity y, sorry. First one to initialize the velocity y. Then here I need to specify the mball velocity y, mball.velocity y, and it's actually divided by. So first inside of that we need to divide this velocity, and then we need to multiply this value with our physics ball speed. That is a constant we have created at the top. Then terminate that value. And similarly, we need to duplicate this line of code. So I'm going to duplicate that, and I need to replace y with the x. So here will be y, and then this is x. So now the code is completed for our ball placement also and the player placement also. And then we need to create a method. So here I will be creating a method which is of type private, not a private, it's actually of type public, because we are going to use these two code inside of this setup table method. So here I will be creating a public method at the top, which is a void, and this is actually a setup table. This is a setup table method, and inside of that we need to call the method, that is our place ball and our place player. So that's marks the completion of this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video where we are going to create the game thread class. In this video, we are going to create the game thread class for our Pong game. So let's get started with this video. Go to your package and right click, go to new, and then select a Java class. Then name your class like game thread and simply hit OK. Now your class is created. So it's going to extend a thread class. So we are actually extending the thread class, and then we need to override a very important method, that is a void run method, which is a part of this thread class, which is used to run the thread. So first I'm going to create some constants that will be treated as a state of our Pong game class. So let's get started with this. Now all of these constants are of type public so that we can access it outside the classes. So I'm going to type it here PSF, which is public static final, and then I need to specify here an integer, and then I need to name it as state ready, and is equal to, I'm going to specify the value to 0 and simply terminate that. Then I'm going to duplicate it into many times. Here I will be changing the value 1, 2, 3 and then 4. After that, changing the variables names also. The last state is lost state, which is the loose state. So these are the states that we are actually using inside our game thread class, and it will also used inside the Pong table class, because these two classes call their code each other simultaneously. And after that, we need to specify here another variable, which is a boolean variable of type sensor class. Now why I am specifying this sensor? That is because when we rotate our device, we want our player to be on the left side. Suppose this is our screen, like if I just rotate it into landscape. Now all of our ball and player and our opponent is actually stacked on top of each other. That is the reason the opponent is here, and also in behind this opponent racket also we have our player racket. So we want our racket, which is a player racket, to be on the left side when we rotate our screen, and also our opponent on the right hand side. That is why we are using here a sensors class. Then we need to create another variable, because we are actually inside the external Java class. So we need a context. So it is of type private and final, and then we need to specify here a context. And I'm going to name this as mctx, which is short for the member context variable. And after that I need a surface holder, because we are actually working with this surface holder. So here we are going to use a final. Now you can see these are actually giving us line, because we need to initialize it inside the constructor. So we are going to do that because we have a lot of final variables inside of this class. Again I need to specify here a private, which is final, and then here I will be specifying a Pong table, and then I'm going to name the variable as Pong table. Then we need another variable of a private type, which will be used to handle the score. That is the reason it is of type handler, and make sure you are actually using the Android OS handler, not this one. So just remove this import statement, and I'm going to press the Alt Enter. Then we want a Android OS 1 handler, not a Java util logging. So just double click that. So you can see now this is our Android OS import handler is now imported. This is the one that we actually need to use. Then here we need to specify the mGame status handler, because this will actually hold the variable names of all these status. Right now you can see inside our, if I actually go to our activity Pong, if I just click on our game state is actually in the ready, means our game is ready to play. We will change the value like running, win and lose. All of these states are actually handled by this particular variable. And then we need a last constant that is of type final also, and this one is also of type handler. Then terminate that. Now we need to initialize all of these 5 variables inside the constructor. Just leave this sensor one because we don't need a sensor one, and simply hit OK. Looking for the user. Now you can see all of these variables are initialized. So here is our handler, and this is our handler score, this is our Pong table surface holder, and this is our context. So make sure the sequence of these all arguments are same, otherwise you will face error. The first is I have actually initialized the context. The second parameter is our surface holder type. The third is a Pong table, and the last two are actually our handler type, which is a status handler and score handler. So make sure all of these parameter lists are same, otherwise you will face error when we call the constructor inside the Pong table. Now instead of that we need to initialize another variable, but first we need to create it. So here at the top I am going to create another variable of boolean type. So here I will be specifying a private, and it is actually a boolean, and mrun is equal to, going to specify here a false. Hit a target key, and then here private, and then integer and mGame object. Then another variable which which is of type object, like so here we actually use to mGame state instead of object, and then it is of type object, the variable that we want to declare object. And here I will be specifying a mrun lock, because we are actually working in the thread, so we need to lock the canvas so that no other resources can actually use that canvas. Then here I will be initializing the mrun lock variable. Perfect, the initialization of all the variables are done inside the constructor. Now in this video I am going to specify some more methods of public type. So here is a public, and I will specifying a void set state. So then we need to start the body of the state, so it's going to expect a parameter of an integer parameter of state. So instead of that we will actually use all of our states that we are actually declared at the top of this class. Also we need some more methods, like we need a setup new round method, setup running, sensor on method, and is between rounds. So we are going to declare all of these methods inside the next video. Also we need to specify the code inside our void run method so that we can run our application without any problem. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. In this video we are going to specify the code inside our void run method. So let's get started with this video. So first we need to remove this super callback, and here first we need to specify a long variable. So I'm going to specify a long variable which is of mNext game tick. Now what this will do, it will allow us to actually use the system clock. So what I mean that it's actually used as a system clock to actually render the things in 1 frame per second. It allows us to draw these things frame by frame on our canvas. That is why we are actually using a long variable. And then we need to here use another variable which is of integer, and another variable, and we are actually using a skip ticks, and then it's going to initialize a value which is of physics speed. So we need to declare here at the top a physics speed variable which will actually renders the things in a 60 frame per second, means our game will be rendered on the basis of this particular value. So here I will be specifying a final, and then it is of type integer, and then I will be specifying a physics FPS which is equal to 60. So our game will actually run on a 60 frame per second basis. So to calculate each and every frame we need to use this formula which is of 1000 divided by, and we need to use here a physics which is our capital physics FPS. So this will actually gives a one single frame, and on that frame we are actually going to specify the code to actually draw the things inside the canvas. But before that we need to check whether our canvas is null or whether our canvas is in a ready state. Then we are actually calling the code to actually draw the things for the next time. So that is the reason for that we need to use here a comparison. So for that we are actually using a while loop, because we don't want to make comparison again and again. So here I will be using mrun object. Then inside of that we are going to initialize this C, which is a canvas object. So first we need to specify here a canvas, and C is equal to null. We need to initialize the canvas to null, and then after that inside the try block we are going to initialize the canvas. So this actually work in this way. So exception I am going to call the exception E, which is a base class of the exceptions, and then here I will be using E dot print stack trace. Okay, Now inside of the try catch block, we are going to specify the code that will can generate a exception. So first I'm going to initialize the mSurface holder, which is into the canvas. So here mSurface holder, because surface will actually use inside the canvas, and then we need to use a method called lock canvas to lock the things. And instead of that, we need to specify the null value and then terminate that. After that, we need to make a comparison. If canvas is not equal to null, then we need to perform the condition, because that the condition is actually true here. So we need to perform the code, and then we are actually going to start a synchronized block. Instead of that, we need to pass the mSurface holder so that the execution will only be released when the process of the surface holder is completed. Then we use a if statement. If, and then here I will be using mGame state is actually equal to, and then we need to use the state running, because right now our game is in ready state, and then we need to make the game into the state running. Then we are actually going to play the things inside the canvas. Then here we need to specify the mPongTable dot, and then we need to call here a update method. So this update method is not created yet, so we need to create this method inside the PongTable class. So go to the PongTable class, and here at the top of the setup table, and move player inside of that. So after at the top of the onTouch, I'm going to specify a method which is of type public date, and this is going to expect a parameter of type canvas C, because we have passed a C as an object which is of type canvas. So we need to here specify the canvas object. So canvas, and then here we are going to write the canvas. Now we are going to do the code inside this in the next videos. We are going to write the code like collision detection, start our AI. All of this code are actually written inside this update method, because when our canvas is loaded properly, we need to allow our AI to move efficiently. Along with that, the collision detection code. So all of this code will be specified here, and states are handled by our setState method, which we have specified inside this GameThread class. Now coming back to the code, so here we have specified the code. Then after this block of code executed, if it is a case of state running, and if it is not running, then we need to use a synchronized block mRunLock. So we need to use a mRunLock synchronized block if the game is not paused. If the game is not paused, then we will actually using this statement. Then here we specify the mRun again. If it is running, means our game is running, and if it is not paused, then we need to draw the things on the canvas again by using the object method of draw. Now here we are again make one mistake inside the previous videos, that is our draw method. So draw method, like inside our PongTable, if you see, I have used here a onDraw method. So we need to make sure this is actually a draw method, and then this is going to be type of public. Then also we need to change this super callback to draw. So this will actually solve the error when we run our application. So why I did this? That's because when you click on this draw method by just simply pressing the control key and left click on that draw method, it will take to the here. If you not actually change this method, if we don't change this method to onDraw to draw, then we actually calling the default draw method that it exists inside the Java package, which will create a problem, because this is our custom draw method in which we specified our draw color, rectangle color, which is used for the bounce, and also we are drawing our player and ball and opponent. So that is the reason we want this particular code to be called here, then so that our application can draw the things on our canvas. That is the reason we did this, because if we use the onDraw method, which actually call not be able to access inside it this GameThread class, because that's a protected, because we need a public method. Now coming back to our GameThread class inside the void run method, here instead of that again we need to specify a finally block which will be executed definitely. So if it is C is not equal to null, if it is that the case, then we need to specify the condition, means after the condition is true, then we need to release this surface holder, and surface holder call the unlock canvas and post C. So we are actually passing the canvas object. So after this particular line of code does what, it actually draw the canvas on the basis of the conditions and update the necessary things. Now make sure you are inside the loop after this finally block is executed here. Now this particular block of code will execute only for the one frame. We need to also calculate the next frames on the basis of this system speed, because there are some high-end systems and there are some low-end systems. So we need to make sure that our game is running on every system properly. So we need to adjust the logic. So for that we need to calculate the maximum next frame by using the codes, means by using these variables that we have declared at the top of this void run method. So let's get started with this. So first here I will be specifying mNext game tick because of our time. So we need to calculate the sleep time. We need to actually calculate the make our thread to sleep just for a little bit of time, because there is no such a method is available which can actually perform a certain delay. Like in our Unity, we have actually used a delta time method which actually allow us to run our game in all the systems properly. Because if a high-end system will draw the 60 frames per second more quickly, and a low-end system will draw the 60 frames very slow. So that is the reason we use in Unity a time.delta time method. But here inside of this Android Studio we don't have this type of concepts, and also we are not using any external framework. We are building this application by using the pre-built graphics packages available inside our Java. So that is the reason we need to sleep the thread for a little bit of time, because we need to adjust the logic so that our game runs with all the devices properly, whether it's a slow device or whether it's a high-end device or whether it's a mid-range device. So now I have specified the code. If sleep time is greater than 0, then we need to use a try-catch block, because there may be chance that exception will occur. So it will actually provide an interrupted exception. Then here we need to specify and call the interrupted exception. And now we need to specify the code which we can generate the interrupted exception, which is thread.sleep. And then we need to pass here a object which is a sleep time, means the time you want to sleep. So that marks the completion of the code inside our void run method. In next videos we are going to specify the states code along with the all methods that are necessary, and then we will run our application inside the physical device. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. In this video, we are going to specify the code inside our setState method. So let's get started with this video. So here, first we need to declare a synchronized block, and inside of that we need to pass the mSurface holder. Then we need to start the block of this synchronized, that is this variable, and then here we need to initialize this with the state, which is a parameter that we pass to this method. Then we are going to use our resources class. Now this resources you are going to use inside the next videos when we are actually calculating the things like state of our game. So get resources, because these resources allow us to actually update the things inside this text view. Like we need to set it to running, also we need to set it to ready, playing, win, lose. All of these things are actually handled by the game status handler. Also with these resources we are actually updating the text. That is the reason I have actually used here a resources class. Then to specify a switch statement, and instead of that we need to use a mGameState variable according to the value, because here we need to make comparisons. So we are actually making a multiple comparison with the same variable. So it's better to use a switch case statement. Specify the case. If it is a case for state ready, then we need to do what? We actually need to set up a new round. So here I will be specifying a one comment, because right now we are not going to call this setup new round, because if we do that we will face lot of errors inside our application and application doesn't going to work. So here I will be using a setup new round method, and I specify here a break statement. Again in the next we need a second case. So this will be a case of running. If our game is running, what we want to do? We want to actually update the things. So we want to hide the status. So this will be a method that we are actually creating, the status hide. Because what do we mean by the status hide? Right now you can see the ready status, because while our game is playing we need to hide this ready status, because behind of this we have a ball. Our ball is right here, but when we start our game our ball will be placed at the center of the screen. So we need to hide the status. And also when we lose our game, the lose text will be appeared, but when we tap on the screen again, means when we touch our racket, again we need to hide these things. So for that we are actually creating a status method, that is hide status method. So we are going to create all of these methods in the next video, because right now my main motive is actually to run the application and see whether we can interact with our player racket or not, and our ball is moved or not, because we have already specified these codes. Again coming back to the game thread class, and now that's it for the coding inside of this state. In our upcoming videos we are going to specify all the other states as well, but right now I'm going to just specify only these two states. We also need to use the other states, like these are three states are left, which is state pause, win and lose, but we are going to use in our upcoming videos. And then we need to create this setup new round method. So this method is actually of type public, so that we can use this method inside the next classes as well, like in our other classes, which is a Pong table class. So setup new round. So I'm here specifying a setup new round method, then the body of this method and the curly braces. Also this method is also use a synchronized block, so that we doesn't want to release the things and again repeating. And then we need to start the block, and here we need to use the mRun class method here we need to specify the mrun object is equal to running. Instead of that, we need to specify the object of mpong table dot, and we need to call a setup table, because setup new round will set up a new table. It makes sense. Again, we need to create another variable which is of type public also. Also, this method is not going to return anything. Set running, I'm going to specify the name of this method. Set running, and then we need to specify the body of this method. So set running, and then here we need to specify the boolean, then running. And then instead of that, we need to specify again a synchronized block, and then pass here a mrun block, and then the body of this particular synchronized block. Specify here a mrun. Now we need to specify here a method. We need to create a boolean method which is used for the sensor on variable. So here sensor, we need to specify a return statement and msensors on variable. Just terminate that. Then we need to specify a public variable which is of type boolean is between rounds, and instead of that we need to return like return, and this will be our mgame state is not equal to, but is not equal to state running. So these are the necessary methods that we will be using for the code. Now we have specified all the methods inside our game thread class, and our game thread class is ready to use inside the Pong table. Now you will see in previous videos I have specified a update method, and this is the update method. So inside of this update method we need to specify some more code that we will be used for the updating things inside the game thread class. So we are going to do that in the next video. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. In this video, we need to create the object of our game thread class inside the Pong table and initialize our game thread constructor. That is the constructor we have specified at the top, which is the game thread constructor, so that we can initialize the resources from the Pong table class and then use it inside our application. So let's get started with this video. So first we need to create some more variables at the top. So the first object variable is of type game thread, which is you can also refer as a game object. So this is a game thread, and then here I will be using a mgame. And then we need to create some private variable to update our player text, also our opponent text, which is a score. And then we need to also create a text view variable which will actually update the status. So here I will be using a status. And then I need to create a private variable which is of type text view again, and then this will actually our score player. And then here I will be using another variable which is of type private, then text view, and then I will be using a mscore, which is our for the opponent. So these are the variables that we are actually using. Now we need to initialize this game object inside this init Pong table method. So I have already specified a one comment. Just remove this comment, and here we need to initialize the object. So here we need to use mgame. So this is our mgame, the name of our game thread class object. This is our new game thread. And instead of that, first we need to pass the this dot get context, then comma, then second is our mholder object, then the third one is our Pong table object. So we need to pass this, and the fourth parameter is our of new handler, and then need to specify the body of this handler, and then need to specify the comma, and then again we need to specify a new handler, and then specify the body of this handler also. Then we need to terminate this particular line of statement. Now here I will be making some enter, because inside of this handler we need to write some code, and it's also in the second handler also. Now here inside of this we need to override a one method that is actually a handle message method, and then we need to here type the mStatus. We are going to update the status, and then we need to use the set visibility, and instead of that we need to call message.getData and then .get integer. So this is our integer value, and here we need to specify the key. So the key I will be using here a visibility. Then we need to duplicate that code, and instead of that we need to specify the text. So this is a string method. We need to change first it into string, the message data get string. Then here we need to use this set text method. Now similarly we need to override this handle message method, and then we need to actually initialize the code for these two variables, that is score player and score opponent. So let's do that. So here first making some enter and override a method called handle message, and then inside of that make sure the super call is present, and then we need to call here a mscore player dot set text, and then inside of that we need to use a msg dot get data dot, and we need to call here a get string, and then we need to specify the key. So key I will be using here a player because it's actually a player. Then duplicate that same with, and then here we need to specify the opponent, and then we need to here call the m_score opponent. So that marks the completion and initialization of the code for our game thread object, which is a constructor inside the init PongTable method. Now coming to the update method that we have specified here, we need to specify the code that will actually use to move our AI. So first we need to make comparisons. If we need to here use a new, we are actually using a random class, and instead of that we are specifying the system dot current time in millis dot next float. So make sure you are outside of this block. So then we need to call here a next float variable, and then we need to make it small, and we need to specify here a value of AI probability and start the block of the code, and then here we need to specify the do AI. So it's actually a single statement, so we can remove the block. Note we are actually using a compound statement, and then we can do this as well. Then we need to call here a ball movement code also. So ball dot move ball, and then to pass the canvas object. So that marks the completion of the code inside the update method, but we also need to specify some here more code like the collisions code. So collisions code will be specified here. Also we need to specify the code inside this onTouch method, and then we need to specify the code for our all of these three overridden method, which is surface created, change and destroyed. So we are going to do this all of this stuff in the next video. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Now in this video, we're going to start implementing the code inside this onTouch event method that will be actually used to move our player racket. So let's get started with this video. So first here I will be using a conditional statement if, and if it is a mGame object, if it is not equal to mGame, then we need to use here a sensor on, because I already told you that the sensor will actually use to keep the player on the left side and our opponent on the right side. Now here I need to do a multiple conditional statement, so I will be using a switch case. So event, then I will be here using a event dot, and then we need to use a get action. Now start the body of this switch statement. The first case that I am going to specify is case, which is I will be using a motion event dot action down. If it is a case, so we actually want to start the game, but game is actually not running. It's actually in the running state. Means in the ready state, game is not running. It's actually all the resources are initialized. So for that we need to again use here a if condition, and mGame, which is the object of our thread, is between bounds. Now is between bounds is not actually accessible because I have made it to private. So here you can see it's actually a private. I need to make it to public. Now if I just again call the is between bounds method here, then you can see it's actually visible, which is necessary inside the PongTable. So if it is actually inside the bounds, means our racket is actually inside the bounds, is not actually touching the bound top and bottom, then we need to set the state of the game to running state. So here we are actually using the set state, and then we set the game thread, because the states are actually present inside the game thread class, and we need to use the state running. So that is the reason I specified all of these states in public, so that we can use all these states constant inside the PongTable class. Right now you can see it here. If it is not a case, means if the game is not in the bounds, then we need to specify the else condition that will check if the touch is within the bounds of the racket. Then we are again using a if statement if is touch on racket. So we are actually touching the racket, means what actually I am saying here, what actually I am doing here, if we touch on the canvas, like if our Pong canvas, and that means the touch is within the bounds. So this particular block of code will be used. And if it is not, if we actually touch on the racket, like if the user touch on the racket to move the player, then we need to execute this particular code. Okay, so that is actually I am here doing. Now is touch on the racket is actually taking two parameters. The first is the event and the second is the type of mPlayer object. So we need to move the player because the AI will move the opponent. So don't pass here a opponent, because we need to move our player. And after that we need to set the moving to true, which is a logical variable, which is a boolean variable. We set the value of moving to true. That means we can move now. And then we need to store the last touch value also. So for that we have actually created a variable which is a mLastTouchY. So if you remember the previous videos, so that is the reason you need to watch the previous videos carefully. Then here we going to use the get y. Then terminate that. So this is a particular action down code for the switch case, first case. Okay. Now coming to the end, and here we need to specify the break, because we are actually need to specify the break because switch case statement requires a break to actually end up the one case. Next guys, now we need to specify the another case. So here coming to that and just making the indentation properly. So here I am specifying the another case, that is case, and then we need to specify here a motion event dot action. So make sure you are using the capital typing action, and then we are actually using here a action move, which is a constant value is equal to 2. If it is that the case, then we need to moving. We need to check whether moving is true, which is actually we set it in the previous case. Then here we need to specify float y is equal to, we need to set it to equal, and then we need to call here event dot get y, because we need to move our player, means our racket, in the y axis. That is the reason we are actually here using y, because if you look at the design, we need to move the racket in the upward and downward direction, which is our y axis, and the horizontal one is our x axis. That is the reason we are actually here getting the y values only. Now we also need to calculate the difference between the previous value and the new value in which we need to move. So for that I am creating a dy variable which actually used to calculate the difference. Then y minus, and then we need to here pass the mLast touch y, and then we need to terminate that. Then we need to initialize the mLast touch variable value is equal to y. So we are actually calculating the difference between the first position and the new position in which our racket is actually moving. After that we need to pass these values to our move player racket method, which we have created in the previous videos. So this is the move player racket. First is the difference that we have calculated, and the second is the mPlayer object, because we want to move our player racket. So that's marks the completion of the code for the second case, which is action move. Now we need to specify the break statement. So break statement, and then the last case, which is the third case, we need to specify inside of this switch case statement. So make sure I'm using the proper indentation. So this is the case, and then we need to specify here a motion event action up, then colon, and then we need to set the moving to false, and then terminate that. Then we need to specify here a break statement. Now here our switch case is ending. Now you can see this is the if block and it's actually ending here. Now this is the end of the else. So here we need to specify the another block of the code, which is the else statement for this particular if. If game is sensor on, if it is not a sensor on case, then we need to check whether the if event dot get action, if it is equal to motion event, not action hover, it's actually automatically pops up action down. Then we need to specify the code. We need to again check whether the mGame thread, means the game thread object, is within the bounds, is between bounds. Then again we need to execute the block of statement mGame, then to set the state of the game thread to running. So that marks the completion of the code inside the onTouch method. And the last thing we want to do is actually return a, instead of onTouch, we need to return here a true. So that's marks the completion of the code inside the onTouch method. Also I need to specify the code inside of all of these methods, that is surface created. And you already know that inside of this I have already initialized the height and width, which is a surface change method. And I already told you these are the main method that actually creates the game, means surface created, surface change, and surface destroyed. All the other resources are used here, but we need to set the resources so that we can avoid any error. So that is the reason I set the things first, like game thread, ball, player. Then it's time to use all of this code inside this surface created. Because if we not do, and if I try to actually add the code in the one long video, it will become difficult to understand. That is the reason I broke this particular code in a separate small video, so that I can focus on the one logical part at a one time. Now again here I will be using a mGame object. We need to set the game object to set running, and here we need to set the true. And then after set the running, then we need to start the thread. So here we need to call the start method. So inside the surface created, we are actually running our thread, which is our game thread class. And then here inside of this I have initialized the height and width. Also we need to initialize the mGame to set up new round. Once the surface is changed, we need to call the setup new round, means we need to again start a new game. So for that we are actually using a setup new round method. Instead of that, we need to, when the surface is destroyed in any region, then we need to again recreate the surface. So for that I'm using here a boolean variable and I'm calling this variable as retry is equal to, I'm going to set it to true. Means retry is true, and when you check whether mgame is actually running, so set running is actually going to set it to false, because we actually retry the surface to create. Means again we are recreating the surface. So we will here specifying a while loop. So while loop is actually true because we set the value to true. Then we need to start the block of this while loop, and then here we need to use the try catch block, because there may be a chance an exception can be occur, and again we need to specify the interrupted exception, and then you here call the e object, and then here e dot print stack trace, and instead of this try block, just here we need to use a mgame, which is the object of our thread. Then we need to call here a join method to join the thread, and then we need to set the retry to false. The last method that we need to specify inside this Pong table class at this tutorial only, because in our upcoming videos we need to also specify some code here inside the update method, which is the collision detection code. So here at the top of the move player racket, so this is our move player racket, here I will be specifying a code. You can specify it anywhere, but I am using it here this place because I like this place so much. So it's a public, and then we need to call a game thread, and then we need to create a object of get game. So not get m, it's actually a get game method, and then here we need to specify the, means we actually name this method as get game, and this is actually going to return a mgame object. This method is actually called inside the Pong activity. That's marks the completion of all the code that we have done so far for our Pong table and game thread. Now from next video onwards, I'm going to specify, means calling the game thread code inside the Pong activity. Now inside of this Pong table, I'm going to specify some setters method that will be called inside this Pong activity, which will ultimately be used to update the values of these particular 3 text views. So for that we need to create some setters that we are going to create in the next video, and also we are going to call the code inside the Pong activity, and also we will run the application inside our physical device. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.